identify as senior citizen?
Yes. Well, I mean, the blanket I gave you would have been senior citizen.
That wouldn't have kept anybody warm.
No. Well, I mean, in my defense, I'm wearing like 4 layers.
I'm not.
You're not. No, you have the blanket. And we have tea, ladies and gentlemen. As always, good evening. Welcome to our Flannel Farms Family Forum with our special guest, Mrs. Flannel. How are you, Mrs. Flannel? Oh,
There's noise on there.
There's noise. I know. Well, I always have to check our sound levels, and I can only ever do it by doing it with this being on. Look, it works. All right, great. That's also our chat, so we can see what the 3 people want to know, and most of them are related to us.
Hi, 3 people. Hi, family.
Hello, family. So,
wish I could actually see you.
I know.
That would be awesome.
That'd be better. Be like a big
Zoom call.
Zoom meeting. We're gonna have a Zoom meeting for everyone we know on YouTube, which is mostly our family. Hello, Carolyn. Hello, Charlene. Good to see you. Monkey Mama says, good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Flannel. Ah, Fun and Frenzy. Hello. Chris, my man. How are you?
Fun and Frenzy.
Fun and Frenzy. That's
you
a great...
know who that is.
We do?
Yes. Jeez.
Hi. Somebody already deleted their message. Darren, shame on you.
Oh.
We have 2 types of tea this evening because we have 2 people. Hey, Monkey Food Garden, good to see you. And Melissa. Oh, she says hi to David, not us. Fine. Forget you, Melissa. I know why you're here. That's
Pass.
fine. Darren says hey from Oklahoma. Hello, my friend. So we have a sweet and spicy cinnamon with a little bit of honey. And you have to say it like you're from NPR. With just a little bit of an oak afternoon. And you have to go.
Swish it around and then spit it back in your cup.
Cleanse your palate. Cleanse your palate. And you have...
I believe I have some fireside vanilla.
You do, which also has some cinnamon and some, I think, clove.
Clearly with some vanilla notes.
Yes, and hints, kind of in the back of your nasal passage. Oh, my goodness. So, Mrs. Flannel, it's been about a year since you've been here.
Hey.
How have you been? It's a good long time no see.
I've been busy.
Well, gosh, we've been busy. We finished our last pig of this butchering season today. We've done, was that 10 pigs?
Yeah.
I think.
Well, including the pigs we did from the last season.
Yeah,
it's
in 1 year.
Yeah.
We went from doing no pigs ever.
Not even no pigs. Not even
no
butcher
pigs, no
ever.
butchering, nothing. Never not no butching. Nothing.
My meat came in plastic.
And was stuffed with styrofoam. Thorn Creek Homestead, good evening. Good to see you. Yeah, so the first time we ever butchered anything was February 20th of last year, and that was when I went to a butchering class and learned. Right. I didn't actually do anything myself. We did some chickens a few months later, and then...
Yeah, I guess so.
And then it was April when we butchered our first pig.
I seem to remember doing a batch of chickens in January.
Maybe we did. Maybe we had the chickens done.
I think we did.
So, yeah, from April till the end of January. April, January, February, March, April. So, yeah, about 3 months from now. 9 months, we did about 10 pigs. Darren says this evening's lineup: Flannel Farms, Deep South, Homestead, and then Pinball. Nice, I like it.
Sounds like a good evening.
Sounds exciting. So we're done with pigs. One of our pigs is very pregnant, as it turns out. We're going to share her with you probably in an upcoming video here pretty soon. Maybe pre or post babies, I'm not really sure, because she looks like she's about to pop.
We were unsure because, we're new to pigs.
Yeah.
So this is a whole other element. But we were unsure. She just started looking around. And we weren't sure if maybe it was just her breed mix, because we've done feeder pigs. So maybe it's her breed mix is a little bit round and
didn't know.
Chunky
Nope.
in different places, but no, she is looking ready to have the babies. So we've been setting up her area and giving her lots of straw so she can make her little nest. And
Yeah, and also her behavior changed was another way we noticed.
It did. She's just started really avoiding pretty much everybody.
And laying down a lot.
Yeah.
Which I don't blame her. She's very large. I mean, she's so big her belly's about dragging on the ground.
Yes.
Paul, my friend, he says good morning from Adelaide, South Australia. Oh. Paul is actually...
Oh, you're in the summertime over there?
It's summer, yeah. Paul, you're a jerk.
It's summer and it's morning? Jeez.
Yeah, Paul and I have never actually met, but we go back, what, 6 years now, Paul? 7 years, something like that. Thorn Creek Homestead says, y'all don't have any snow? You want some? No, we just like to whine about how it's currently 45 degrees outside. We're from Florida, man. Thin blood.
It's really more about the gray and the mud for me.
And the dark.
Yeah. Yeah. My Florida blood, though, I need that bright green and the bright blue sky. And I come back up here and I'm like, oh, it's brown. Everything is brown.
Hello, Michelle. Tay Tay says, hey, good evening and God bless. Just got in. Your wife is beautiful. I think so. I mean... I chose her out of all of the women in the world, so she's
all 4 of them that he knew.
She's very fortunate that I was so selective, and she met all the criteria.
At 17.
Yeah. For my younger friends out there, men, if you're looking for a wife, throw a ring at somebody early before they know they have options, and make sure it's a religious girl, because they can't leave. Religious girls can't leave, so just make sure. Mom says, hey, Mrs. Flannel. Bev's Urban Garden is here. Hello. And Psalm 144. Are we making bruschetta out of any of the leg quarters of the pigs?
No.
No, we're not. We made a lot of ground.
But I can investigate.
I'm pretty sure the bruschetta is where you have to let it hang for like 3 years.
How does she? Prosciutto.
Prosciutto.
So the cured meats. So... eventually, we'll start with ham, and then maybe eventually get fancy with some prosciutto. But to start with, we've learned so much. It's been kind of insane. The specialty things we haven't really gotten into yet. But I feel like...
Did you hear the part where we did 10 pigs this year?
Oy! Oh, 0 to a million. But I feel like we're getting our feet under us.
Yeah.
So, when it comes to taking care of the animals, and then processing, like the whole life cycle, I think we've got a much better handle on it than when we started, so...
Fun and Frenzy says, I'm so endearing with my wife's speech. Yeah. I am super sensitive, very sensitive. We actually went, though, the first pig we did, we probably wasted 15 pounds or so of usable parts, in part because I didn't know what I was doing butchering, so we trimmed a lot of things off that we just chucked. We didn't save it for dog food. We tried boiling some bones. That didn't work out very well because the carcass wasn't as clean as it should have been. We didn't mess with the head. Like, there was a lot that we didn't do because I was just trying to get it figured out.
I would say that the cleanness, you butchered it very well. I think it was just not getting it off the ground 24 hours to make sure that he was empty.
Yes, yeah, that's true. We stopped feeding them and he was still out in the field. So
because they eat dirt and sticks.
Yeah. Yeah, Psalm 144 was talking about the
prosciutto.
Said it takes 1 year to cure.
We might have to try that sometime.
Never have to. Monkey Food Garden says, for never doing it before, you seem like a natural watching the videos. Well, thank you. I felt like I was going, but I've done 2 of them now without using the book. Although I left the book in the rain and it got very messed up. So I do need to get...
It forced you to do it without it.
I had to do it without, but...
He is. He's like, okay, well, this is your Boston butt, and here's your shoulder roast. He's like laying it all out. Look, there's butcher twine on it now. I'm like, look at this.
I did. I wrapped it up in butcher twine.
It's beautiful. My freezer looks awesome.
And actually, the next step, I think, and people ask, like, if we use the heart for organ meat or for sausage and lungs and things like that. I know you can. We just haven't gotten there yet. We're working up there. Jessica says, I wish I could pull up a 3rd chair here for all the pig talk. That's our sister. Our sister Jessica. So yeah, I think the next step is going to be smoking.
Yes.
We haven't smoked anything yet, so we're looking forward to getting our
Hot
feet wet with
smoke,
that.
not a cold
yes.
smoke, because that's on the list as well. Figuring out how to do that.
Carlene, you are the reason we exist. Carlene says, your videos have given me the courage to do this. That is exactly the whole purpose of the channel is twofold. There's like 7. I keep getting distracted, but I'm a millennial and have undiagnosed ADHD.
I was going to say ADHD.
I have so many things I want to say. I want to encourage people to do things they don't think they can do. Now, that pertains particularly with our focus with homesteading is you can do things. You can. And actually, the next video we have coming out is why pretty much everybody should know how to butcher. Hey, Sean's here. What's up, buddy? Are you not working? What in the heck? He normally just listens, but he's about to blow the chat up if he's not working because he's very funny. So we want to give people the encouragement or whatever that, hey, look it, we're not experts. We're not. This isn't we
didn't grow up on a farm.
Yeah, I didn't go to my grandparents' house and he was doing this and his Bob eating possum. None of this
like
stuff.
10 generations removed from farmers.
My grandfather was president of a bank. Like, not the IMF. That's bad, but yeah, it's just. Actually, we have seen our family farm though from 4 generations back.
Yes, well, yours.
Yeah.
I don't come from farm at all.
So, thank you, Bev. Bev says we're doing a great job so far. Yeah, Tim came out and hung out with us. Hey, Tim, the other day, and actually you're going to see him in a little bit of time lapse in the last pig butchering, because the last pig butchering video really isn't about the actual butchering. It's about why everyone should know how to do it.
He's going to be a philosopher for you a little bit.
So we want to encourage you to do things that you maybe want to do but are scared to do. We want to encourage you in general, whether you have any interest in doing this life or not. When one of our videos pops up, I want you to feel like it's going to be a retreat from the world in some way, and that you'll get some kind of hope, encouragement, a smile, something out of it. Even that's why when things go wrong here, we post them, but there's always a positive spin on it, because there's always something we can find to be positive about. And then we want to warn you about things a little bit, but that's more in the live streams.
Okay.
And by warning them about things, this is a segue. You're gonna.
Oh.
This is a segue.
Segue. Smooth.
Wah, wah, wah. I fancy myself a broadcaster. I do.
Why does everybody hear us?
Yeah. This is
He's such
Mrs.
a nerd. Mr. Flannel's a nerd.
They know my name.
I know.
Tell me why the socioeconomic situation of the world is not going to improve
You say.
for the next 10 years or so. And why it's not the Xers' fault.
It's not the Xers. No. He's saying this because I find demography very interesting, the study of demographics. I find the social sciences very interesting. I like looking at trends. I like geopolitics. I am a nerd. So every now and then I come to him and I'm like,
Check this out.
oh man,
I learned me something.
I learned me something. Well, there's just been a whole lot of noise lately. It seems like there's a crisis on every front. Everybody be scared. Oh my gosh, it's just the end. It's the end, guys. And really, it's just, I believe we're going through a transition on multiple fronts. Mm-hmm. And one of them is relating to demographics. I listened to a talk today. I don't know if you've ever heard of Peter Zeihan. He's a geopolitical analyst that I find interesting. I don't agree with everything all of his conclusions, but I think he's very interesting. He usually has a different angle than what you hear from a lot of people. But he made a video recently pointing out how, was it like the last of the baby boomers turned 65 this year.
Yep.
So there's mass retirement that's going to be happening. So and they're our biggest generation. So you have a huge amount of labor exiting the workforce across the whole world. huge amount of labor exiting the workforce, taking their capital with it.
Yep.
Because what happens when people transition into retirement is that they're no longer spending
Right.
the way that you do before, because now you need to have
The money's not coming in like it was.
right.
So you
got to make it last.
You got to pull back.
Right. So that, without any of the other noise, Russia, Ukraine, COVID, any of that, because this was going to happen anyway.
Mm-hmm.
This difficulty was going to happen anyway. This difficulty also is going to create inflation.
Yep.
Because we have an exit of labor and an exit of capital that's happening.
So your highest, the people that drive the economy, even though the demographic they always say is, they're trying to reach men between the ages of 25 and 39. That's the demographic. It's not the demographic. The demographic that actually drives the economy is 55 to 65. Because by 55, all of your kids are gone out of the house. And so you both can work. You're at the pinnacle of your career. You're making the most money. So you're spending the most money because you're not worried about the retirement thing just yet. And then you hit 65 and you retire, and a lot of that spending stops. The other thing that happens is they liquidate a bunch of stuff. So they sell a lot of things. So the last of the baby boomers hit 65. The baby boomers did not have what was the Xers that are significantly smaller
Yes.
than the baby boomers.
Yes.
And because there were so many boomers, labor got cheap. And then the boomers sent their wives. Not all boomers. I know some of you, my friends.
These are generalizations, guys.
My friends, before you send me nasty letters, I am a boomer and I stayed home. My mother and father were boomers. And they homeschooled us and bucked the trend. So I know there are those of you out there who did not buy into any of the nonsense in the 60s and 70s and the revolution and stayed together and stay married, all those kinds of things. Bev says, wait, not 65 yet. Wait. I'm not one of those. It's like how we millennials, we old grandpa millennials don't identify with the new millennials. We're almost like a separate generation.
Yes, we like being special.
So the boomers actually
the narcissism.
We also think we're really special. And we all start YouTube channels. I want to be famous.
Actually, we just want to meet you.
Yeah, it's true. We're team players. So the boomers didn't have as many kids. They sent their, wives and husbands and two-family incomes and all that stuff. So the Xers are a significantly smaller generation by a lot. And actually millennials, there are more millennials than Xers. So the whole pyramid, scheme thing of ages got all jacked up. And you poor Xers came into the labor force and brought down the price of labor even more. So a lot of you who have said, well, for Pete's sake, my dad graduated high school, went and worked in a factory, and that was it. And he retired with, his house paid for, a pension, 2 cars, and everything was fine. And my mom didn't have to work, and I don't understand. That's because it didn't exist for you. It just didn't exist for you. The good news for you Xers, though, is now's your time. They're leaving. They are leaving the workforce. In the next 10 years, there won't probably... If that, there won't be any left in the workforce. I mean, the youngest ones are hitting 65 now. So
you do have some people, just like anything, these are generalizations, looking over at trends. And so there'll be some people that don't really want to quit.
Yeah.
And they're really healthy and really love what they're doing, so they'll hang out longer. But some of them will transition to more part-time,
Yep.
because your life's not over.
But they're going to be out of the workforce. Hey,
right.
Thorn Creek says married 53 years today.
Hey,
congratulations.
That's amazing.
Fantastic.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's wonderful. And again, like we're saying, it's not everyone, right? I know there are those of you out there like Thorn Creek who are just like, nope, not doing it. The world's insane. But Xers, now's your time. Now is your time. Us millennials, we showed up, and there's more of us than you. But we are 5 years behind on everything. And in part because the economy collapsed in 2008.
As we were stepping out,
we got stepped on.
we lost... we didn't do the calculation. This calculation does come from Peter Zeihan.
Right.
And he calculated that millennials lost 5 years of prime working age in their 20s.
Right. So for those of you who are in your 30s trying to figure out how to buy a house and those kind of things, it makes total sense.
Yeah, we're just behind.
Yeah, we're just behind. We've also... My brother says I'm an Xer and we don't care. That's right. The Xers,
they don't care.
And the Xers don't trust anybody.
No.
You think the millennials are bad. The Xers really, really don't trust anyone.
And they're teaching their kids not to trust anyone.
Yes.
It was funny. I'll have to, we should post a link to that video because
We
it
should.
really,
I'll put it in a post.
man, he just captured it so well.
So the boomers are leaving and they're going to sell off a bunch of stuff. So what's essentially going to happen is this all isn't going to straighten out until the millennials hit 55. And the majority of, so not us early millennials.
Not us grandpas.
Not us grandfather millennials, but probably the kids born in the 90 range, because I think millennial is 81 to like 96.
There's some quibbling about that, but that's about right. The Zoomers are considered late 90s to about 2012.
Yeah.
Or that's the number that I'm seeing.
So, and the problem and good thing with millennials is we're very good team players. We're very good team players. We're also the least competent workforce that's ever existed.
The least skilled.
The least skilled workforce. And I think
tragic.
that's part of the drive that has made us want to learn these things. Because we're well educated. We can, fill out Excel spreadsheets and do those kind of things. But if you've ever I've heard it my whole life, these darn millennials, right? You hand them a screwdriver or something, they stab themselves in the face with it because they just
can't
don't
hang a curtain rod.
They can't hang a curtain rod, right? So, one of the reasons YouTube is so big is because all the millennials are trying to find somebody that knows how to do that. How do I hang a curtain rod? Yeah. Old Bear says most educated, least skilled is quite the combo. Right. So a lot of us have overinflated senses of self, and we really don't know how to do much. But there's a lot of us that want to, and I think that's part of the drive that really we didn't even realize like that number, until we were listening to old Pete. And
and I think just in our own personal experience, in our own personal sphere, we've noticed people that are kind of in our similar life stage have a very similar drive.
Yeah.
They want to know how to do things. Not everybody's moving out to 15 acres to start a farm, but there's definitely, like doing a lot in your backyard and figuring out how to fix your house and
knowledge that people just knew.
Yeah. Fixing your own car and all that kind of stuff.
Carlene and Kathy, you have an interesting point, but not quite. Carlene says you forgot lazy, and Kathy says Zers are much worse. So it's interesting because actually Xers are the ones who were, or millennials were the ones that were raised given trophies.
Yes.
We were all given trophies, right? And a lot of us realized that that's trash. Right, I'm sure you guys. You even see commercials for it now, where people are, there was a car commercial where they came home and like the kids' soccer team won.
Oh yeah, no,
Right?
it wasn't a car commercial. It was a comedian.
No. This was a commercial. The comedian said the same thing.
He was 40.
But he was 40.
Yeah.
Right. So this kid comes back, and you watch the soccer game, and obviously the kids' team won. And when they came back, the trophy says participant.
Oh.
And the dad was like, so he actually peeled it off and wrote champion on it, right? Because you won. Like, you won. So no, that's not. So we are raising our kids, absolutely, and so are Xers for that matter.
I think the comedian that we were watching that had a similar little bit about his kid coming home, and the game was tied, and the kids were all excited because the coach said, we both won, and then the guy's like, no, son, your coach lied to you.
Yeah, you did.
I think as our generation gets older, I think reality the reality of the situation is really starting to hit people.
My brother says when the entire economy was destroyed before most of us got here, it makes you not want to work. There's a fatalistic sense.
You can be very fatalistic about it, or you can think about it as an opportunity.
Right. And that's what not Rip. Yeah, Rip was saying that you can. There's so much opportunity. So there's going to be a lot more here coming up very soon because the boomers are getting out.
And I think with to get real big picture, globalization, deglobalization, all of that. Clearly we are regionalizing across the world into blocks.
Yep.
And I mean, so what we've known over the last 20 years probably could be considered like the golden age of shipping, the golden age of
snap your fingers, you have it.
Yeah. I can't even think of the golden age of what? Convenience, maybe? It's a golden age of convenience.
You could have everything you wanted quickly, cheaply.
Whatever you want, you can get it. And I think that that's going to change. So our economy is going to change. And changes are usually kind of painful and difficult. So if you just hang in there and dig in and figure out what you can do to insulate yourself and to make yourself more perseverant, I think that we can really pull ourselves out of this and make something better.
Yeah, Amy says golden age of consumerism.
It is.
That's it.
Perfect.
Amy.
That's the word I was looking for.
You nailed it. That's it.
Yes.
So what does that have to do with you at whatever age you're at, right? I know the vast majority of our audience is between the ages of 30 and 104.
How many 104-year-olds?
I don't think many.
That's awesome.
I don't think many. Speaking of 104-year-olds, on a sad note, my grandmother did pass away this week. She was 93, turned 93 in December. Had a long life, surrounded by family and friends. Not unexpected at 93. I don't think anything is unexpected. Anita says representing feeling 104 today. But yeah, so if for the boomers, your people are exiting the workforce. Maybe you're exiting the workforce. The world's going to get a lot crazier over the next 10 years as these ages kind of have to reset. We have to make it through the underrepresented Xers and their 50 to 65 because they're not going to have the resources that the boomers did because the boomers are going to end up leaving it to the millennials because that's their kids.
Although I do have to say, like, Elon Musk is an Xer.
He is. There are always the exceptions.
And David the Good is an Xer.
David the Good is an Xer.
Yes, I just said David the Good and Elon Musk in the same sentence.
Oh, yeah.
Right next to it.
They're Chucks. For the Xers, now's your time to shine. I mean, it's here. In terms of what to do with your money and investments and stuff, I would just say hang on to it and be careful. Hi, Hazel Bell Farm. Welcome. The things that we thought were stable clearly are not stable. So a lot of that old logic and stuff, I think we've known for probably the past 10 or 15 years is a sham. And it's not going to work. So we have to be careful. Dave says, my rocket experiments as a kid were mostly peaceful but fiery. And if you're a millennial, depending on what part of the spectrum you're on, a lot of things I think are going to end up getting cheaper when the boomers start selling things off because there's going to be a decrease in population, a decrease in demand in a lot of those things.
And I would, if I were a betting person, I would say we'll also probably see some reshoring of our own manufacturing because I think Americans, especially after the last 3 years, are going to cry out for having things at home.
Yes.
Why in the world are we are importing our medicine? We're importing critical infrastructure to take care of our own people. That's insane. It's just insane. So I think we'll see a reshoring of all of those things. It's just going to take time.
And we have to survive it. That's the thing. And I think a lot of these laws need to change. And that,
oh, goodness.
Like you were talking about, but with backyard chickens, right? It's illegal to make your own food. This is the most ridiculous thing
goodness
I've ever heard.
Why can't somebody who lives on a quarter acre in a city, if they've got a fence and I don't understand why you can't have chickens in your backyard. And some cities have begun to change those ordinances, but there are still a lot that don't let you.
No, and it's evil.
No, it's ridiculous.
So
Every
Now,
restaurant, every restaurant, every home should have some chickens in their backyard.
Everybody should have chickens. Everyone should have chickens. Go get chickens. I don't care if it's illegal. Get them, because it's not really illegal. It's against an ordinance.
Goodness,
not
don't. You're not supposed
actually
to advocate for people to
illegal.
break ordinances or laws.
So all of this has been exacerbated by the people at, I don't know, Davos and the elites.
What? That's a conspiracy theory.
Oh, yeah, gosh. The great Niset. You can say it that way because otherwise YouTube gets mad.
Don't get mad, YouTube.
So we'll see how the next video flies because I said some words. It's exacerbated by those people. But I think what they don't understand is Gen Zers are actually highly creative and extremely motivated and really antisocial. So
that was an interesting point he made about
Yeah.
Zoomers.
Yep.
I mean, and it makes sense, with all the devices and stuff that everybody has in their face all the time.
Yes.
It makes sense that they would become a very antisocial group, which is funny because that's the opposite of our generation that was built
Right.
on collaboration and group work and teamwork and,
yes,
we're
we're all in this together.
all in this together, guys.
And the hope actually is that the Zoomers might actually, like some of us millennials, and I know some of you Xers and some of you boomers have been crying about the industrial complex forever, right? But there will be enough of a substantial people group who are dissatisfied with the lack of freedom so that they actually start to change some of these things. I think we need to start petitioning for laws now. Look, if Roe v. Wade can be overturned,
Holy cow.
we can put chickens in people's backyards, okay? That being said, one of the other reasons the demographic thing is so jacked up is because we've aborted something like 60 million babies. So this is a crisis that we have brought on ourselves by murdering children, not having children, and then you have all of the other economic stuff that's going on. So it's going to be an interesting 10 to 15 years, I think, before things stabilize.
It is kind of a mess, and there's a lot of noise. So I would really encourage you
To turn the news off.
just don't get bogged down in it. Like, I think we accept it.
Mm-hmm.
This is the time that we're living, and I believe we were all put here at this time for a reason.
Such a time as
For
this.
such a time as this. So instead of fighting it, then what we need to do is just get
Cork
to work.
on the ocean.
Be cork on the ocean, get to work, figure out how to make our families more resilient, how to help our neighbors be more resilient.
Community is huge.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you, Old Bear. By the way, Old Bear sent us a $20 super chat.
Oh,
That's
thank
very
you.
kind. I like your thumbnail picture. It's a cute pupper. Carlene says we have 7 kids, so we did our part to repopulate. That's awesome.
That is great.
Now, the caveat, I guess, to all that is also, if you are a religious individual, we like to jokingly call ourselves Shiite Christians. We're very fundamentalist, and apparently that makes us dangerous.
Don't say that word. It's offensive.
What?
It's getting
Dangerous?
cold.
It is getting cold. Old Bear says he has the prettiest pup in the world. Just saying. I would agree, but my puppy would get mad at me. She'd be like, "Hey." When you're under judgment, a lot of the stuff goes out the window. But this can be the judgment. The judgment could be the fact that, sometimes God lets you suffer the consequences of your own actions. And so when you abort millions of people and you stop having children, which are a blessing, all of a sudden the entire world is upside down. The economy is upside down. Prices are upside down. Nothing makes sense anymore. Now, I do still think that in the next 10 years, and especially in the next year or two, that scarcity is going to be a thing, especially when it comes to food. The fertilizer situation really hasn't gotten any better. They've stopped talking about it because they don't want people to freak out. But I read an article the other day that said even Europe is looking to have food shortages. And I mean, my goodness.
Even Europe.
My goodness. A person starves to death in the world every 4 seconds, but even Europe might have trouble getting wine. But what that means is it's going to get more expensive. And so we are doing our best to to try and help with that on our small little scale. That's why we try and find cheaper ways to produce our own food. We try and show you tips and tricks that we have learned that have made it less expensive. The old joke that if you want to make $1 million in farming, start with 2.
Yeah.
Because then you'll lose 1 and you'll have $1 million left. And we're not even really farming. We're just trying to produce our own food and trying to figure out how to not go broke doing it. Mm-hmm. But we need to.
That's a key component.
It is. It is. You can throw all your green stuff at the food stuff. So we're trying to decouple and also provide a place for our friends to potentially have a place where they can grow food as well. We've had people that have, basically bought a whole hog from us and come and taken care of it themselves and go home and, saved some money, which it sounds like a video I should put out.
That sounds like a very interesting concept.
Probably should come out next week. So even if you live in the city, you should know how to butcher. And I'll tell you why next week. Same bad time, same bad channel.
Can't miss episode.
So we've just, I really wanted to tell you that specifically this evening, in part because my wife is very knowledgeable on the subject. But last week we talked a bit about homeschooling and marriage, and that sparked some lively conversations back and forth with people. So I went into the house and told my wife how lucky she was to be married to me, and she agreed. And
Yes.
but I realized it's easy we always put ourselves in the best light, so I did not want to falsely represent myself. And it's always easy for a man to say that their wives and women should be submissive to their husbands. So I thought instead of taking my word for it, I would force my wife to come out here and without her shoes on and do the things that I tell her to. No, submit, woman. But in all good form and fashion, I will start with you fellows. Okay, so this is going to be your brief marriage counseling for the week. And if you need to work on it for the rest of your life, that's okay. It takes a while to get this sorted out. Fellas, you have 3 roles in your marriage. You have prophet, priest, and king. And the prophet isn't necessarily one who looks into the future and sees what's going to happen. The prophet is one who brings God's word to the people. So that's what a prophet does. Your job is to be in the word, and it is to be learning it, discerning it, and teaching it to your wife and to your family. A priest is one who makes sacrifices before the Lord. And hey, Joe says, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Flannel, as well as everybody. Joe just got here. See, I told you, we hit that 40-minute mark and people start showing up. Where are we at? 37? Just about. We had to stay on long enough for you, Joe. A priest is one who would make the sacrifices, right? And take the confession of the people before the Lord. So as the husband, you are to be praying for your family and for your wife and to be going before the Lord on their behalf. And then the king, we Americans aren't very good at the whole kingship thing, but in reality, a king was supposed to be more like the Braveheart dude, right? You're supposed to be the one rallying the troops, sword out in front, and defending the family from all enemies, both foreign and domestic. And keeping them safe spiritually, keeping them safe physically, providing for their needs. That's what a good king does. If you read in the Old Testament, the good kings took care of their people and fought their people, raised armies and defended them. Yeah, Bev says her covering. That's right. So that's the 3 roles, and the husband submits to the Lord. The husband also submits to something, right? We are all to be submissive to something. So as Christ submitted to God the Father and did not come to do his own will, we are to be doing the will of the Father as men. And then wives are supposed to, your turn. That's why I see you're here for your part. That was a bad segue.
He just threw me.
Do you like that? Here you go. How's that under the bus?
I didn't have any remarks prepared. You didn't.
I didn't want to put words in your mouth.
Well, okay.
All right.
So a wife should submit to her head. That is clear in scripture that's what we're supposed to do. That does not mean that we're a doormat. It doesn't mean that we are treated poorly, because if we're being treated poorly, then our husbands are not loving us as Christ loved the church, because Christ loves the church.
Right.
So we are supposed to be a model of that relationship. So submissive to your husband. I mean, to me, he's got the final say. I will give my counsel, what I think is wise in this situation. But at the end of the day, he makes the call and I accept the call. That's pretty much how it has to be. There's a lot less friction in a marriage when you do that. And I understand that's a tall order for some women that are in marriages that are very difficult with husbands that
are not worth submitting to, right?
They are not walking in an honorable life, and a big part of your role. And I think our other major role should be the heart of the home.
Yes.
I think I this up sometime when the term homemaker actually appeared, like that was a new job or something.
Yeah.
Like you opted to be a homemaker before having a career, or instead of having a career or something. We're the heart of the home. So we are the anchor. you know, we make sure that our family has their needs met. And all of you, I'm sure, have read Proverbs 31 and read through all of those things that that woman took care of for her family. She was not, playing, I know, like the 50s canasta and bridge and having her little club meetings. And not that you can't do those things.
Right.
But there's a whole lot of work and elbow grease that's involved in holding your family together.
Yeah. And, budget managing and, being frugal with the resources. And I've said multiple times, and I know I've said it in live stream, I think I've said it in videos, that one of the reasons that we're here is on the property is because of how good she is with money. I mean, we have the same goals and the same things, but she's the one that actually manages all the books. I know once a month how much money we have, because that's the only time it matters, when we have our budget meeting, because she takes care of it. So she's wise with our resources. I've talked to a bunch of men who have, wives that are, they had credit card debt and everything. My goodness, it's crazy. But here's the thing about, I think, submission. And we talked about this the other day with being under good leadership. And one of the things that men tend to forget to do is apply good leadership principles. I'm a lieutenant in the fire department, so I have a captain that I operate under, and then there's my crew, who in theory do what I say. But the crew, if they tell me they want to do something, and I think it's a good idea, and we do it, and the chief crew really stepped up, they knocked it out of the park, they saw that, this thing was happening, and they made a great call, said, hey, let's do this, and that's what we did, and it worked out really well. If your crew says, and the chief comes over and goes, hey, that was really stupid, what does a good leader do? Hey, chief, that was a bad call on my part, I thought we would do whatever. You take ownership of it. And yet we go home, and we don't do that with our wives, right? We don't give praise when they have good ideas, and we blame when they have bad ideas. But if you, as the feller, make that decision to do whatever that thing is, guess whose decision it is now? It's yours. You own it now. And this is why it's so crucial to marry somebody who has the same overarching goals that you do. Why we married inside the Christian faith, because in theory, we are both already submitting to the Lord. So we are already aiming for the same goal of furthering his kingdom. We have something that both of us are supposed to submit to, which is his word. And that gives her, in theory, if I'm doing my job right, a whole boatload of freedom to operate in her gifts. Because then she can have ideas, do things, and if it's in the overarching goals of what we have already decided we're aiming toward, then it's not some overbearing, where's my food, woman? And
there is some of that.
There's a little bit. But it more sounds like, hey, what's for supper?
Do we have lunch going on today?
Are you making lunch today, or am I just going to not eat?
Lunch every day.
I just not eat today. Oh, I'm sorry. Mindy says losing my rock was the hardest thing to overcome. I'm still working to cope and finding my way without him. Yes, it is. Yeah, that's very hard. I'm sorry. But I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about that because we talked a little bit last week about homeschooling and, wives staying home and taking care of the kids and all this stuff. And I realized that I was speaking about our family and how we operate, which is fine, but it might also be good to have the perspective of the one who is actually staying home and actually homeschooling the kids.
Yeah. If anybody is on tonight, or you have friends that have been thinking about homeschooling, but you're afraid to do it, or whatever, you think you just can't, you don't have that kind of patience, or any of that. And homeschooling's hard.
Yes,
it is hard, and you can't be lazy because you get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah.
But you can, and nobody has the patience.
Yeah.
That's a myth. That's a myth. We have to work so hard at it. I can't tell you how many times that I've gone to my kids and been like, I'm sorry, I said something kind of rude to you. I mean, I was not patient.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry I spoke to you harshly. Like, I just spoke to you the way that I fussed at you about speaking to your sibling that way. I am sorry.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It is a lot, but it's so worth it. It's just so worth it to see them grow and not have the interference from the culture right now. And it's not like, I think people have a bad view of sheltering your kids.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure you can go too far because, if they don't really know what's happening out in the world.
Well, you can educate your children without exposing them to evil.
Yes. And we have so many conversations about people that we see,
Yeah.
In the world, and the things that they hear, other kids saying, because we are in the world. We don't stay here
That's
all
right.
the time. But we do try to provide a place where they can develop their unique God-given strengths and work on their weaknesses. And it's a safe place.
It's so safe. They can express themselves.
I hate to even say that anymore because it's been so abused.
Goodness. Billy from Permapastures is here.
Hey.
He just popped over. We're going to be
Billy.
hanging out with Billy here coming up in a couple weeks. I can't wait. I've told you guys before, but since Billy's here, Billy, I've let the cat out of the bag. I'm sorry, but as far as I know, Billy, myself, my brother, and I think the Kramer Life, and potentially Justro from Metcalf are going to pop over to Sean the Modern Yeoman's on the 11th of February, and we're going to butcher a pig, and it's going to be amazing. So yes, we're going to hang out. I'm actually going to get to meet Billy finally, and Sean and Justro and those guys. I've never actually met them in person. I have met my brother, so that's fine.
You have?
Don't fret about that. Carolyn said I could make my own sandwich every now and again, and my brother said that's emasculating. So
Yes, David.
actually, I just opened a can of tuna fish.
He would. I can't let this person make things for himself. I mean, he's so competent in so many different areas.
Yeah.
But in the kitchen,
I get it all.
no.
Yeah, Hazel says, what's wrong with sheltering? Is protecting the children of God entrusted us with suddenly horrible? So what we like to say is we don't send recruits into battle, right? You don't, when you get a recruit, you spend the basic training and then you send them off to whatever their job title's supposed to be. And then, you do all those things and you get them well trained and then you send them off.
Right. It's so important to me. But I probably my core mission with our kids is to ground them in truth.
Yep. So that they can stand before the wiles of the devil.
Yes.
So, yeah, 100% with you, Hazel. Absolutely. Yeah, our kids went to an art class the other day, and we were told it was going to be full of a bunch of homeschoolers, and it was not.
Well, they didn't say that.
Oh.
They didn't say that, but I had heard from other people, but apparently I just picked the wrong day.
Yeah. So our
go to
kids
it.
got kind of surrounded for an hour or so by...
There weren't that many. there weren't that many. There were it just was a small class, but it still was enough for them to go,
Okay.
this is different.
Yeah, we're good. Thanks. So I told them now, I'm like, now you must thank your mother every day when she homeschools you for all it's worth. But, my friends, we are coming up on the last bit here of our episode this evening. We have roughly 10 minutes left. She said she wasn't going to sit out here for the whole hour.
I did tell him that.
Once again, she's lied to me.
I told a fib.
We haven't made an hour yet. We've got 10 minutes left.
So I'm going to leave it 2 till.
So, just to be right.
Just to be right. That's what I'm supposed to do, right?
Right, and if I tell her not to and she doesn't submit, this whole thing's over. If you
Lead by example.
lead by example, sit down, woman, dadgummit. I'll take your shoes again. The other lie. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat. Not that we missed all of your questions from before, but also Tim said you made a lovely lunch.
Oh,
because Tim was here.
Oh.
So.
Wonderful.
The other lie that women especially get told, right, is that if you go out in the world and in the workforce is this wonderful, accepting place that will validate you for who you are and pay you money for your time, and that is where happiness and trash and things are.
Yes.
And you've worked full time.
I have.
After having a baby.
I have.
How much of that was true? On a scale of 1 to negative 4.
For me, no. No. Well, especially after having a baby. I mean, I enjoy working. So, and I have, even homeschooling all these years, always managed to have some side hustle happening.
She's okay.
Yeah, she's fine.
You guys are making more noise than she is.
I've always
She's
managed...
trying to figure out what you're doing. The kids are behind the camera trying to get the dog to come to them, and the dog is just like not having it.
But I don't think that I ever had, personal validation, or it just wasn't about that for me. I knew where I needed to be. And I didn't go to work because, with an infant, because I wanted to. Yeah. That was, 2008,
yeah,
if that tells you anything. There was no work for Brian.
No, everything I was good at. And I was not one of those unskilled millennials. I was one of those uneducated millennials who knew how to do things but didn't have the paper. So I was still caught in that old cycle.
Yeah. So he had to go back to school and somebody had to work. So, and I had just graduated from college, so I went to work.
Absolutely.
But it was very hard. I mean, it's hard being poor.
Being poor isn't any fun either.
It was very hard. But, we were 14 years on the other side of that.
Yeah.
15 years on the other side of that.
Yeah. We lost about 5 years. Isn't that weird?
Isn't that funny?
That's called a tieback when you do that with what we talked about earlier. So just to keep you interested. Several people said I married up. So remember when I told you early on that you find a good girl and then you flash a ring at her before they know any better? That's what happened. So she didn't know she had any options. So lucky me. But I'm telling you, it's really hard marrying an intelligent, beautiful woman who's good at things because sometimes you just, maybe you should just marry a fat, toothless thing that's just glad you came home. It has no expectations for you or doesn't force you to be a better human.
It doesn't have hope and ambition.
Yeah, none of those things.
I do have
it's
hope
exhausting.
and ambition. I do.
Honey-do list is a mile long, I'll tell you what.
But I don't just demand it. I mean, they're equal goals, and I think I work just as hard as you do around here.
You do? You work very hard around here. It's different type of work.
Different type of work.
She does that fiddly bit stuff in the kitchen that I hate, and I open heavy jars.
You operate that giant chainsaw really well.
I do. Everything can be solved with a chainsaw. Right, brother? If you haven't seen David the Good shirt lately, you should go see. Yeah, Dave says it's hard having a pretty wife every day, man. What a struggle.
I have to leave here? At least you get to work.
I do. I get to work.
I have to send mine off.
I get to work and I'm like, dadgummit.
It's okay. It's a good job.
It's a good job.
It is a good job that you enjoy, and it provides a schedule that works perfectly with this stuff. So,
Hazel, you're killing me. Hazel says, my husband don't know that after 20 years, his wife was going to have big, wild dreams. Blindsided.
wait, now, you know what I think?
Yeah.
You know what we could do?
I'm not going to say we haven't had those discussions, but we've had those discussions.
Oh, yeah.
If you ever sat at dinner one day and, you're talking about your next 5-year plan and all of a sudden your wife just bursts into tears and goes, I can't do it anymore.
That's not our plan.
And you go, what?
I don't like that plan.
Wait, what? I thought we were going to do that thing and then invest in that thing and do that thing. No? Okay. 30 days later, we were in another house. That's what happened. But it was my decision. Ha 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 ha. So thankfully it went well because I would have had to eat it. So
I didn't even mean that fast. I just didn't want to be there for another 5 years.
Nope. When she don't like it no more, we gone.
And to clarify things, I didn't really want to be in the city like we were anymore.
That was when we moved from the first house that we bought in Newport News to the other house that we bought over in Hampton, and the itch of homesteading by being over there because it was a little bit bigger land.
The yard was huge.
And it was a nicer neighborhood. And nope, it wasn't enough. We had to get out. And out we be.
We just needed 15 acres.
Yep. Dave says a 5-year mission to explore strange new homesteads and I need a road to dig where no man has dug before.
Yes. And apparently to learn to butcher pigs.
Yeah. To seek out strange pigs and stranger pigletizations.
Word of the day, piglitization.
Now, great. Now there's copyright. I just ruined it.
Stop.
Was that less than 3 seconds? I think it's 3 seconds on YouTube you can use before that.
You could barely tell that's what it was.
Oh.
So. Well, don't keep doing it.
If you change it just enough. Old Bear says we got married in Hampton nearly 26 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Small world, isn't it? To quote Jack Sparrow and another thing that's going to get copyrighted.
Stop quoting things.
But we're millennials. That's how we talk. It's in movie quotes.
I know. I think there's
People don't think I don't know about buttload about the gospel.
But I did.
Encarnacion.
Oh, we recently watched Nacho Libre with the kids.
We had to show the kids the classics, right? Which is sad that Nacho's like 20 years old now, but
It is. Can you believe we're that old? Wow. That's amazing.
They also enjoyed Napoleon.
They did.
Tim asked if we have any pigs. Piglets yet.
Not
we
yet.
don't, but she's moving less and less.
And it's so very slow. I mean, it's an effort.
She waddles.
It's an effort, so I think it'll be soon.
Yeah. Oh, Melissa says, we've been in the city 2 years now after leaving California. It feels like we've aged 5 years. I can't wait to find land. Something I learned.
A difference.
I don't know if learned, but discovered being out here. We always loved going to the country, even when we lived in the city. And when we would go to vacations, we would go far away from people. And I mean, we would go visit family, but then we would, our own little family vacations, we would go to the mountains and just be on the side of a mountain away from everybody. And we always kind of thought maybe it was the location or you're not working or whatever. No, it turns out it's just being away. And I mean, we've been out here for an hour, and I know we're wearing headphones, but this is a very good microphone, and I have heard not a single mechanical noise. There's no planes, there's no cars, and like the weight that just falls off you, which you can put right back on by watching a lot of news. So you can you can suck yourself right back into a panic. But sometimes you just go out into the yard and just sit, and it's quiet. One of your favorite places is by the window in the morning with your coffee.
Yes, I do. I sit and watch the little birds and stuff.
Because it's green everywhere we look out of our windows, and it's just so.
Well, not right now. Right now it's
good.
brown.
Well, the porch railing's green. It just depends on what window you look out.
Well, there's bamboo in the side window, and that's still green.
You do an occasionally.
I look out there.
A possum walks by.
No possum.
Possum.
I'm neighbors with foxes and raccoons.
Yes.
And possums.
And pigs.
Pigs.
So, Chris says, one of the 2 female pigs we got 2 weeks ago is pregnant and she's swelling up a lot. Paid $25 each. Woo!
Ooh, what a deal.
Good deal. Mindy says, I'm blessed to live in 30 acres and it's so peaceful and wonderful. My children have all kinds of pets, played in the mud, went swimming in the pond. Absolutely.
It's good for your soul.
Tim says, get the pond fixed. Look, man.
It's a plan.
When I strike the lottery,
I do want to get the pond fixed.
Oh my gosh, there's so many things.
I have high hopes to put some little duckies over there too, but I don't know if
At some point.
I don't know if they'll live because our foxes and stuff around here in the springtime.
That's true.
But Esther's doing a really good job.
She is our livestock guardian dog.
She's doing a
They
good job.
identify as LGDs.
Okay.
YouTube just went, oh, bumped a video. Oh, wait. He didn't say what we thought he said.
Oh, we're such a mess.
All right, my friends. You will have to send us a boatload of fan emails and stuff to see if we can talk Mrs. Flannel into doing this again in the somewhat near future. For those of you who thought I lied when I was talking about my beautiful wife and all the things she does, she's real. She's here.
I'm such an introvert, you guys.
She is.
That's all.
She is. Tim's wife was asking why we don't use her name. It's because she's a fairly private person, as a matter of fact, and her big-mouthed husband had to go off and start a YouTube channel and start yammering on to folks. We speaking of the channel, we do have a few things we're going to be trying here in the fairly near future. I almost forgot. Amy, are you still here? You better be here, Amy. If you remember last week, we read about...
That was not a good segue.
No, that was I panicked. So you remember we talked about walnut ketchup last week in the Old Virginia book. So what I've decided to do with the channel is instead of doing a segment every week with one of those in it, because it doesn't really pertain to homesteading and it might jack up the AI, I'm going to read one in the live stream. And if that continues to be a popular part of the live stream, I might eventually just start a second channel where I read old books.
Because we like it.
We like it. I don't care if you like it. So now we have to get into NPR mode. Are you ready?
Indeed.
Okay. Do you want to read the other half, or do you want to just...
Whatever.
Okay. I'm going to read to cloth, and then I will hand it to you.
Okay.
You don't giggle on NPR.
We planned very well.
You don't giggle on NPR.
I'm so sorry. No more giggling.
Walnut ketchup. Take green walnuts and pound them to a paste. Then put to every 100 2 quarts of vinegar with a handful of salt. Put it all together in an earthen pan. Keep it stirring for 8 days. Then squeeze the liquor through a coarse cloth.
And put it into a well-tinned soft saucepan, and when it being to boil, skim it as long as any scum rises, and add it some cloves and mace, sliced ginger, sliced nutmeg, Jamaica peppercorns, sliced horseradish with a few shallots, and a little garlic with a K. That's important.
That sounds terrible.
Let this have one boil up equally into each bottle. Thank you.
That's walnut ketchup. Join us next week for Pinecone Barbecue.
8 days. That is commitment. That is some commitment.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, Dave says you need a horrible Yankee accent for MPI. Yeah, Bev says no thank you on walnut ketchup. So yeah. Mongo says I don't know what I signed in for.
What is this?
Yeah.
Those guys are weird.
Sean says you'll need to catch up after 8 days. Oh, guys, so funny.
So funny.
Yeah, clay pot. So yeah, I don't know if I'm going to start a second channel where I read old books. It's just kind of the thought. I enjoy the reading, and I probably wouldn't read it like that. I would read it more in my normal voice because that's ridiculous. But not right now. Anyhow, my friends, it is cold out here, and
It is. I did get a layer
did.
eventually.
I told you.
My big.
See what happens when you don't listen to your husband.
I did.
So
I wasn't ready.
Sean says he'll send us random old books if we do that. I appreciate you guys being here. Keep growing as you grow. I hope you were encouraged by what had happened this evening. And if you weren't, you at least got a chuckle. And if you didn't get that, at least maybe you just shook your head in bemusement. Either way. But we will see you next time. Probably, I think we're available next Saturday.
You're working on Saturday.
Am I? Dang.
That's what you told me.
That's true. All right. Well, maybe we'll see you Sunday. I don't know. Up next week. I hope you all have a great evening. Thanks for joining us. Now I have to get out of this delightful rocking chair and go all the way over here to hit this button to make it stop. Make it stop.
Good night.
I love you, bye. Are you guys famous? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You're just really good at your job.
Huh?